Hi, this is Pat Duckworth, the author of Hot Women Rock, How to Discover Your Midlife Entrepreneurial Mojo. And I do interview men as well as women, so I have my second male guest this evening. My guest today is all the way from sunny California. I'm envious. He's a best-selling author, a speaker, and constellations and energy healing facilitator and trainer. If you've never heard about constellations, I'll ask him some more about it. For over 2 decades, he's trained and consulted thousands of leaders to step boldly into their heart's deepest desires and generate positive change in their personal lives, organizations, and communities. He's also the co-founder and CEO of the Art of Heartful Living Institute, an international leadership and personal development training program that empowers thought leaders to fully bring their brilliance and gifts out in service of the world. Excellent. So welcome, James Woeber. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. It's great to see you, Pat.
It's great to see you. And you are used to being surrounded by women because earlier this year we were both in Delhi at the Women Economic Forum and there were a lot of women there.
Yes, not many men, a lot of women, yes.
What would you reckon? It must have been about 90%, 10%, something like that?
Yeah, at least, yes.
And you coped with it very bravely, I thought.
Yeah, I was trying to. I was doing my best with it. It was wonderful. And what a great group. It was really a wonderful group of women.
Yeah, and is it normal for you, really, in the healing area that you are mainly outnumbered by women?
Yeah, definitely in the self-help circles, the spiritual circles, there tend to be more women who are opening to that. It's more of really connecting with your emotions and your feelings and things like that. So it tends to be something that women feel more comfortable with and are more practiced at. But I've been really happy to see that there's more men that are coming along and really being interested. I think that in the last 20, 30 years, things have definitely shifted from like being 80, 90% women to being sometimes even 50-50 in some of the workshops that I do, which is great.
Yeah, and you and I know some wonderful men healers and, very powerful male healers. So that's great. So I just want to take you back, taking you all the way back. I know you look so young. People will think it's not that long ago. Leaving college or whatever. What did you do first when you started out in your career?
I was actually very, very fortunate. I had a film degree, and I went directly from college to a great job. It was right when the internet industry was just starting off, and so I got a job with this great internet company. They were doing some multimedia projects as well, and all these young people that were very inspired and brilliant group, and we all were out there to change the world. And so it was a great environment to start in. It kind of quickly, like in the next 4 or 5 years, really shifted a lot to a lot of corporate types coming in, a lot of money coming in, and the energy shifting a lot toward being money focused rather than what can we create out in the world focused. But still, I was so lucky with how I started off.
Yeah. So then, how did you move on from that and evolve into your next phase?
Crisis.
That is a story I hear a lot.
Like all of us, right? Isn't that usually what kind of it gives this spark to move on to what we really care about? But yeah, I was working in the field for 8 to 10 years, and fortunately, I've always been involved some in the spiritual realm. For me, it was always the place that I went to for my own healing, for my own balance. Doing yoga, doing energy healing classes, personal development, any exploration I could find of different types. And I hit a crisis I was doing more and more projects. I helped launch a startup company, and it was a lot of work and great, but then a lot of the dynamics that happened with that, and then a couple projects afterwards, I was just finding that the reason that I went into the work to really create some benefit out in the world, I was noticing I wasn't doing that at all. And I wasn't doing things that were soothing and healing for my soul and felt like I was providing value. And so I just found myself working a lot and having a personal crisis on every level, relationship, work, and everything else. And so I just took some time out and it ended up being perfect. I thought, well, I'll try this a little bit. And I thought, well, I'll do a little bit of teaching with energy healing work. And I thought, I really like this a lot. Maybe I'll do it a little bit more. And I ended up staying with it. So I've been doing, that's 17 years that I've been doing it full time. And I've been doing the energy healing work for 25 years with the practice, but full time for 17 years and teaching for 17 years. So once I found my groove and what really spoke to my soul, I knew that I was in the right place. I found my path.
Fantastic. So you've done two fabulous constellations for me, but I still find it hard to tell people what a constellation is. So can you sum it up so that people watching will understand what it is that you do?
Yes, I noticed that I describe it a little bit differently depending on who I speak to, but for people who have never experienced the work before, on the outside, it looks a little bit like you're doing role playing. People stepping into certain roles like family members, or you can even do organizational constellations where you set up a client and then the sales team or things like that. You can set up anything. Basically, what we're doing in a constellation is we're connecting with the deeper systemic dynamics that are underneath the surface with any issue that we're looking at, whether that's money issues or trying to find the right product to bring out into the market, or challenges that we're having personally with bringing ourselves forward and trusting and not procrastinating. You can really set up anything. But what a constellation does is it shows the deeper pieces underneath the surface, excuse me, that really need to be looked at, so that as soon as we look at those pieces, then everything frees itself. It's like the core pieces that are sticking within us that are not allowing us to go forward. So like our core fear of abandonment from something that happened in the family lineage, for example, or a fear of intimacy because of parents breaking up, or even grandparents going through something really painful, one of them dying or something like that happening. And then it's passed down through the family because the emotions aren't processed. So the child gets all of that and they don't even know what they're getting, and then it impacts every area of our life.
Yeah.
So the constellations work with those on a core level.
I think it's, yeah,
really open to our lives.
It's so powerful because you did a personal one for me within a group with something personal to my family, which was beautiful. It just felt so good to sort that out. And then you've done a business one for me as well over Skype, which was amazing. Because sometimes people say to me, can you do hypnotherapy over Skype? Well, yeah, you can. And, you did this beautiful constellation as well. And a lot of business owners have this problem around money and how they feel about money. And I'm guessing you do quite a few constellations around money issues.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Yeah, I'd say probably close to half, but certainly a third to a half of constellations have something to do with increasing business, money, opening more to abundance in some form or another. It's just a very, very common issue for people in business, entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And I don't know, I mean, you tell me, do women have more of a problem with money in their businesses than men, or am I just judging that?
No, I actually find it just as much with men.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The issues sometimes show up a little bit differently, but there's oftentimes a way that, men on the surface, because of how we're enculturated, are trained to put on this facade of being on top of things, having everything together. A lot of women have taken on that too as a way of being in the business world, in the more paternal man's world that's been created more traditionally. But it's not healthy for men or women. It's an out of balance masculine, and so really oftentimes the healing dynamic with both ends up being really reclaiming a lot of the feminine. Because the out of balance dynamic, it's kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But so much of the money issues are not nurturing self, not accepting and receiving in life, a way of driving forward to try to make things happen, and not fully receiving, which is again, I'm not to say man, woman, I don't think it's that, but more of the receptive qualities in life, which we're
Yeah.
a little bit devoid of in our culture. Right?
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. And the leadership work you do, is that within organizations?
Yeah, with organizations and with individuals. Um, and again, it's really going in, a lot of the leadership work that I do is really helping people recognize what's underneath the surface. With ourselves personally, getting in touch with our values, our beliefs,
Yeah.
the deeper drivers that are underneath the surface for us. So before we even think about what business we want to create, or how to market things, or how to interact with a client, if you don't know those deeper dynamics, then you're really moving from a blind space. But if you can
Yeah.
understand those deeper dynamics, then we have many more tools available, and we can really step forward in a very full way in our lives. So the leadership is really about empowering. I love working with thought leaders and with entrepreneurs who really want to make a difference in the world, because that's what's important to me as well. And so it's a lot about really helping those type of people connect with those deeper dynamics so that they can be more effective and a lot more happy when they step out into the world.
Yeah. And you and I both spoke in India. I was speaking about values one morning, and then the very next session you were talking about leadership and role modeling. And we both spoke alongside some amazing speakers who
Yes,
were so totally living the things that we were talking about. It was quite the experience, wasn't it?
really was. And wonderful seeing yours.
Oh,
Your audience knows you, but you're amazing.
oh, thank you so much. And
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, talking about values alongside the chief police officer who investigated the assassination of Rajiv Gandhi.
yeah,
And so that was quite amazing. That was at 8:30 in the morning. And then we walked out straight into James's session, and there was the same guy again, you know, such a role model, and a woman from
mhm,
the United Arab Emirates, who was the first woman to be educated to degree level after independence, and who went on to become Minister of Education and founded 5 schools. It was really quite the
mhm.
experience.
And speaking of, like you were saying, they embodied it. But for me, they were both perfect examples of balance between the masculine and the feminine. Very,
Yeah.
very strong, had done amazing things in the world, and so heartful, and really having their focus and their intention in a place of really noticing the larger whole and what serves the larger whole, and obviously taking care of themselves at the same time.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
such beautiful people, amazing. So this is Pat Duckworth, and I'm in conversation with James Woeber, who's the CEO, founder of the Art of Heartful Living Institute. So I know from spending time with you how strong purpose is for you, and this is something that I talk about with a lot of entrepreneurs, because once you understand your purpose, you can really align and get powerful in your business. So tell me what purpose means for you.
Yeah, I think it's such an important topic, and I think probably most of us, our first exposure to purpose is a healthy one. It's like, what are we excited about when we're very young? Like, what are we inspired to do? Whether, like, for me, it was forestry. I love being in nature and being out in the forest. That didn't mean that I was meant to do that, but it was an important quality and connection that I felt. So for me, it's the interesting thing about purpose is that it doesn't have a lot to do with like the school guidance counselor type of purpose. You go through tests and, okay, well, I like doing this, and then you get matched up with being a bookkeeper or whatever.
Yeah.
That really misses the mark, I think, oftentimes with purpose. I think purpose runs much deeper. There's almost an ineffable drive or quality inside of us that things like connection, expression of some value of being, like speaking for both of us, is an exciting thing to do. It doesn't mean that we have to be public speakers, but doing something that really taps into that, expressing and sharing with others in a way that builds meaning and quality and sharing. Like, that's important to me with speaking. I can do all kinds of different things with my purpose as long as I'm connecting with that deeper piece.
So how do you help your clients with that? What sort of thing do you do with them to help them to really get in contact with that?
There's a number of different things. Constellations are an amazing tool with that,
Yeah.
really connecting with both what brings passion and what it enlivens the system for someone, and also seeing what blocks are around our opening to that passion. If we're stuck upstream with an issue with the parents and not able to really feel and see ourselves, then we're lost. Once we start connecting with really holding space for the places inside that might have been traumatized, might have gone through some difficulty, or might be taking that on from our parents. Once we start doing that, the system starts enlivening and we start connecting with ourselves, with others in the world, and the natural expression ends up being there. Like then we start feeling like, then our compass is on, then we've got our GPS open so that we can look at something and feel like, nope, not much energy there, or this, oh yeah, that feels really exciting. That job opportunity that's being offered feels really exciting. But if we have the system shut down because of past traumas that haven't been worked with, then we don't have our GPS system working. So that's one of the main things. The other thing is there's a whole way of tracking the system in the body energetically, noticing that if we activate certain areas, and then you start talking about and exploring different topics, things that people are interested in with their work, the system will tell you also, that's another GPS system, our system will tell us when we're aligned with that or not. And the idea with the work that I do with people is I want people to have that tool themselves, not just come to me with it. So that more and more they're tuned into their bodies so that when they go out into the world, they can really assess for themselves, yeah, this is really serving me and this is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah, because sometimes, you know, I get offered opportunities to do other business activities and I can, you know, I think, oh, that sounds quite interesting. And then I get a feeling in my body and I think, oh, I don't want to do that. You know, my head is going, oh yeah, that's quite interesting. And my body's going, oh, don't go near that. It's not the right thing. Now, you see, in America, you always refer to GPS. Here in the UK, we talk about sat-nav because it's satellite navigation. Now, I have made this joke in the US and I have to explain it every time. So I say, oh, don't worry about sat-nav, use pat-nav. And it goes down like a lead balloon. And I have to go, okay, let me explain the whole thing. So
I like it. I know.
So when I'm in the car, I don't worry about sat-nav, I just use pat-nav. But yeah.
Usually better.
I made that joke with our dear friend Terry Duperon when I was in Florida earlier this year, and he just looked at me so blankly, and I had to explain the whole thing. The joke had gone, the moment had gone. So, what advice then would you give to a new midlife entrepreneur? And often they haven't decided to be an entrepreneur because it seemed like a fun idea. They have had a trauma or a trigger or some moment of crisis where they thought, I can't carry on doing what I'm doing. I need to do something new. Mm-hmm. Where do they go in that moment?
Yeah, one of the wonderful things about crisis is that the crisis itself opens us up. You know, so there you don't have to search for the wound. You don't have to search for what wants to be looked at. You know, it's right there. We're kind of splayed open with it. So it doesn't feel comfortable, but it's really an amazing opportunity when we're at that place in our lives. It gives us a reflection of what really needs to be addressed, of what pieces inside have been neglected usually. Oftentimes when we're going through a crisis, as you know, it's because we've neglected a part of ourselves for a while. So the work that you do with people, I know that we've had conversations, you address that a lot with them. You know, and same thing with my work. It's really recognizing that there's pieces that have been ignored, and the speaking in our body physically, the emotions that aren't working, the self-talk that we're having about ourselves, all of that are flashing neon signs that are showing us what to look at. And it's helpful having someone to coach or to kind of guide you, because also the nature of a crisis is we're unresourced. We're kind of knocked out of our place of being able to take care of ourselves. but it's really a golden opportunity to kind of shift gears with that. So for me, it's one of the main things is helping people reframe the experience in the beginning to really recognize this is an opening. Your soul is taking you through a beautiful opening to an incredible opportunity that your body and soul have been wanting all the while.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so important to acknowledge that moment and to acknowledge that you can't do everything yourself. Some people, I know some therapists who are really good at working on themselves. I'm no good at that. If I've got a problem, I'm going to find another therapist to work with because I need to say it out loud and have somebody hear what it is I'm saying that helps me move on.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you're going through that crisis and you're thinking about the next thing you want to do, it's really important to talk to somebody else and to, somebody you trust, and if finding a therapist or somebody, a coach or a mentor that you can work with so you can set your new business, your new way of life up on solid foundations. I just think that's so important.
I totally agree with you. It's kind of an occupational hazard to be a teacher, a trainer, a consultant, a therapist, because we get into the mode of supporting and taking care of others. That's part of the gift, but we can get in that mode so much that it's more vulnerable and more difficult to allow ourselves to open up and be guided by someone else. But usually that's exactly what we need in those situations. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So all the women, all the viewers watching this who are now dying to work with you, how can they find out more about you and what you do?
They can go to the website that I have. It's Art of Heartful Living. The website is www.artofheartfulliving.com.
Lovely. And yeah, just to be clear, if you're in the UK and you're really interested, you can work with James over Skype. If you're in California, you can go to one of his lovely group sessions, and you're doing a lovely session with essential oils. Is that this weekend? Or
yes, that's tomorrow in Carlsbad, California. So yes. And yes, to mention on Skype, I actually do probably, 65, 70% of my clients are in other locations. So I do with Skype or Zoom. So it's a great way of working, and the distance doesn't matter.
No, distance doesn't matter. Book James, get it sorted out. Thank you so much. I know we could talk for so much longer, but thank you very much for joining me and telling us all about your entrepreneurial journey.
Thank you very much, Pat. It's great to see you.
And so thank you all for watching, and watch out for more of these amazing interviews with wonderful entrepreneurs. See you next time.